Now, it may not seem very interesting to just check whether or not a proportion is true. There's something else that we do with proportions that's much more interesting. It's so interesting that we need a whole new word to describe it. In addition to writing down a proportion where we know all of the values, which is either true or not true depending on what those values are. This one happens to be true. I could also write down one that happens to be false. We could write down a proportion with a number missing. And this is either true or false, depending on what number we fill into the blank. What we have here is a mathematical sentence with a blank in it. And one of the things that we might want to do with such a sentence is find out what number goes in the blank to make the sentence true. And that process of finding out what number goes in the blank is referred to as solving. If our proportion is missing a number, we can solve the proportion. We can figure out what number needs to go in the blank in order to make the proportion true. And that number, the one that we get, the one that can go in the blank to make the proportion true, that's called the solution to the proportion. So this word solve has a very specific meaning in math. It doesn't just mean do a math problem. This word solve means specifically, first, I'm giving you a sentence with a blank in it. And what I want you to do with that sentence is find out what number goes in the blank to make that sentence true. So how would we go about doing that? Well, okay. So we have this sentence with a blank in it. Well, let's suppose for a moment that we knew what that number was, and we wanted to see if the sentence was true or not. Well, we know what we would do then. We would look at the cross products. We would say 3 times 2, and we'd want to find out, is it equal to 5 times, well, whatever number this is. Oh, hey, we can work this out, right? 3 times 2 is 6. And now we're looking for the missing thing in a multiplication problem. What operation do we use to find the missing thing in a multiplication problem? Oh, this looks like a job for division, doesn't it? Our missing number is going to be whatever I get if I take 6 divided by 5. What's 6 divided by 5? Well, it's 6/5. And there's not really much more I can do with it than that. I could write that as a mixed number if I was super duper into that, but I don't have to. So the solution, the number that goes in the blank in order to make the proportion true, is 6/5. Okay, this is not normally how we write out the process of solving a sentence, an equation, as we'll now call it. We don't like to write question marks in the middle of our math. It's weird. Instead of writing a question mark, we'll usually write a letter in the missing place. And just by habit, often the letter is going to be X. Oh, but we have a little problem here, don't we? If we're writing the letter X in our math expressions, that looks an awful lot like a times sign, doesn't it? Whenever we're working with letters in our math, that is, whenever we're working with variables, we'll always use the dot instead of the little X for our multiplication sign. And sometimes we'll do away with the little dot even. If we just write a number next to a variable, that means multiply. That is, if I write 2x, that means 2 times x. That's the same rule where if I just write a number next to parentheses, it means multiply. I will generally stick to this notation in this course, but you should be aware of this as well. And if you're in the habit of writing this way, go for it. So, okay. What does it typically look like when we solve a proportion? The instruction is just this verb solve. That tells us that our goal is to find the missing number. Let's say we want to solve 3 over our unknown number is equal to 24/32. Well, again, our first move is to look at the cross products and say, if it's going to be the case that 3 times 32 is equal to our unknown number times 24, what does our unknown number have to be? Well, let's see, 3 times 32, that's 96. And that's equal, again, to x times 24. X now, our unknown number, it's the missing thing in a multiplication problem. How do we find the missing thing in a multiplication problem? This looks like a job for division. Our unknown number is going to be the product divided by what we were multiplying by. 96 divided by 24. 24 doesn't go into 9. I'm going to guess it goes into 96 maybe 4 times. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Oh yeah, there we go. 24 goes into 96 4 times. My solution is that the unknown number, x, is equal to 4. And there we go. Let me give you one of these to try. Again, there's no particular reason our answer should be a whole number. It could be a fraction. It could be, well, anything really. Solve the proportion 1.5 over 9 equals 1.8 over q. Notice I called my unknown number by the letter q in this problem. It doesn't matter, though you should continue to call it q as you solve the problem. Pause the video and try this now. Alright, so again, my first move is going to be to look at the cross products. I'm going to say that 1.5 times my unknown number q, I want that to be equal to the other cross product, 9 times 1.8. So, okay, I'd better do this multiplication. 1.8 times 9. 9 times 8 is 72. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 7 is 16. 1 digit after the decimal point in the numbers I started with means 1 digit after the decimal point in my answer. And now again, q is the missing thing in a multiplication problem. How do we find the missing thing in a multiplication problem? We do division. So my q will be 16.2 divided by 1.5. Oh, I'm doing decimal division. Am I allowed to do this decimal division problem? I'm not, right? Because this number is not a whole number. So what do I actually want to do? I want to multiply each of these by 10. The division problem I'm actually going to do is 162 divided by 15. So we'll set up a division bracket. 15 goes outside because it's the divisor. 162 goes inside. Where's the decimal point in 162? Right at the very end. Decimal point in the answer goes right above that decimal point, and now I never touch it again. 15 goes into 16 once. Fifteen goes into 12 how many times? Oh yeah, none. Oh, I'm out of digits. What should I do? Yeah, I'm doing decimal division. I'm going to add in a 0. 15 goes into 120. Let's try a guess. It's going to be big. Let's try 8. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 1 is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, that works. Nothing left. My unknown number q is 10.8. My solution is that the unknown number q is 10.8.